Hello divas, dudes, and dolls, I'm Kira Couture, and welcome back to yet another double booked, double pilled, and double feature of a little review show, Very Slay, where we go over each and every one of the main stage runway looks of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 9. So we're starting off with yet another housekeeping thing. If you didn't already see over in the community tab, I did have some weird, unfortunate setting issues with my last video. So unfortunately, I did not have material that I could work with by the time I sat down to edit the video on Monday night, Tuesday-ish last week. So I'm just lumping it into this one, and we're doing both episodes 3 and 4, both the A Tale and Two Titties runway and this firefighter girl group makeover moment from episode 4. Thank you all for your patience. I appreciate it so much. Hopefully now, as I knock on my wooden desk, we've gotten all of the technical problems out of the way, and we will have no more going forward. Fingies crossed. It is now Pride Month when this episode comes out. Frankly, I think after all the shit I've been dealing with technical problems, I deserve to have things go right for a while. So I am sincerely hoping it stays that way. And again, like I said in that same community post, I am not in drag today or really in any makeup. This is just the base face diva, because I am going to, later today, the day I'm filming this, and tomorrow, I'm going to my boyfriend's local Pride. It's his first ever Pride. Our first Pride as a couple, and my first Pride, like, not in a working context since coming out as trans. So I am very, very excited to just like get to be there with him and experience that, see some great drag, and just see like what the queer scene is like where he's at. Because who knows, maybe I'll move up there. Fingers crossed for that too. But enough about me and my personal life, let's get into how this little show works. If I think a look or a set of looks meets the brief but doesn't really blow me away, then we give it just an okay. If I think they knocked it out of the park and I absolutely adore it, we give it a slay. And if I think it is awful and I can't stand it for any reason, we give it an A. And that's all in efforts to find our slay of the day for each episode once again, like last week, and put it head to head up against our current reigning slay of the season for All-Stars 9, Plastic Tiara's Drag Imitates Art look from episode 2, to determine which look will finally end up holding out that title by the end of the season. So the first two we're going to talk about today are Roxy Andrews and Vanessa Vanjie Mateo. Going into these episode 3 looks, for Roxy, this lovely little Jessica and Roger Rabbit hybrid moment is very, very fun. I really like the take on it. I love the proportions of the dress. The proportions of the body are correct for Jessica. I love how stoned and beaded and embellished this gown and the gloves are. It's so nice to see. It sparkles in a lovely, lovely way on the runway. Having the Jessica neckline but with the Roger overall straps is very cute. I think it works really well. The carrot is a fun accessory. I think making the hair more like Roger's is a smart decision here, with the rabbit ears as well. The one thing I was a little thrown by with this was the makeup decision here. I understand it's because she's trying to emulate Jessica's really large eyelid shape. Because she's made the eyelids so large, she has the eyebrow a lot higher than she normally does, and it kind of throws off the whole shape of her face to me. So for me, I don't think this makeup is as successful, particularly the brow shape, because I think when she did Jessica Rabbit before, I think the brow that she did for that look worked a little bit better than what she tried to do with this one. But this look is still stunning. I can definitely see the carrot and the gloves came from this original look. The gown is a little bit different, obviously, because of the overall inclusion, but still a really strong look. I'm gonna give it a slay because you know I love a cosplay moment. It still works for me really well. Miss Vanjie's look here, on the other hand, to me, it looks off the rack just because it's so ready to wear. Out of everybody else in this particular theme, it just really lacked in a lot of ways to me. But the tail is really freaking cool. I love the treatment of it. The texture of the tail is really nice. The lights included in it and the lights on the jacket work really well. I think her whole vibe being this very like Y2K mall girl works for this. But at the same time, I don't understand why she's in this like monochromatic pink look that just happens to have a scorpion tail. To me, they're two disparate ideas. It's not particularly my favorite. I think it could have been done a little better. More scorpion elements could have been brought into the garment to just really unify the whole thing. To me, it just looks like two separate ideas, and that really throws me off. So I'm just gonna give this an okay. Like, it's still good, but it's just not as good as the rest of them, in my opinion. Now, for their makeover look, when we're talking about the overall cohesion between all three, Roxy really knocked it out of the park. The color choice, the lavender color choice looks great on all three of their skin tones, and this little like gold draped element that's in 3 different positions on all of them, I think really helps sell the idea of them being together, because the looks are all, in theory, they're fairly similar cut in a lot of ways, but they all make sense for each person in terms of like the overall aesthetic, and I kind of get like their vibe of what they would be in the girl group in terms of like roles. So for me, it's a really successful makeover in terms of meeting the brief of making it into a girl group moment without it being too matchy-matchy. So I think it's good, but when we get into just like the base garment ideas, there's just nothing really exciting for me, so I'm going to give this group of looks an okay. If you're going off of the girl group cohesion factor here, but this group was the best group in terms of that overall aesthetic really reading as like a pop girl group. At the same time, maybe this is me being just like a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, but at the same time, I was kind of surprised the 2 of them won. It did kind of feel like a bit of a production stunt giving them the win because of storyline factors, because they started off not having any badges at all, and by the end of the episode, now they both have 2. And they're now up in line with Gottmik as frontrunners in the competition. So I did like raise an eyebrow a little bit at it. I just didn't find these outfits particularly exciting when they walked out on the runway. Alrighty, our next pair that we're going to talk about is Plastique Tiara and Georges. Going into their episode 3 looks, Plastique's just mugged down. The Divalicious Diva, honestly, this is so good. She's one of those girls who, I don't know how she hides the breastplate seam that's like under the chin like she does, but this looks so seamless. Like, it is perfect. The only thing I didn't like it is like the fursuit feet. I get why they're there for the look, but they just looked like fuzzy slippers more than anything, instead of like fox paws. I think that could have been handled just a little bit differently, but the rest of the look, incredible. I love the color palette. I love the drape of this. I love the masquerade mask. I love the tails. I love the hairstyle. The whole thing really read as a kitsune, this really seductive fox demon. It's gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Giving this a slay 1000%. And then Georges kind of had a similar vibe with this look of doing a chihuahua moment with the fursuit legs, but I think her fursuit legs are a little bit more successful, even though I think they are a little bulky. And I think this idea of this really posh Beverly Hills chihuahua is cute, but I wish she would have almost inverted it, just because it kind of gave me like Paris Hilton chihuahua energy, like rich heiress dog in a bag. But I think it would have been really cute had she been like the chihuahua as a rich heiress, and then she had like a woman in the bag, like she had like a Barbie or something, like a doll to emulate that vibe and just invert that whole visual trope. I think would have been very, very cute, and would have been like a little bit, you know, like a Carol Burnett, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the judges. That would have been fun. So that's just a personal thing. But in general, I thought this was cute. I really liked it. It's the most, I would say, conceptual thing I think we've ever seen Georges really do. So I was excited by that. I'm gonna give it a slay. Now, when we get into their girl group look, I think if we're talking about just purely on fashion, this group in general, to me, was the most exciting. It's not just because of it being a Powerpuff Girls reference, which I fucking adore, but it worked. The names, I know they clocked that like the names were the only thing that made them cohesive, but if you knew the reference, if you knew the Powerpuff Girls being like the point of reference with the 3 of them, it still is cohesive. It's just not super matchy. Like, it still has a cohesive element. All 3 of those looks are very Y2K. The whole way they're presented, it fits. It has this like bubblegum pop 2005 feel to it that I really, really enjoy, and I think is very successful. I love the cut of Plastique. The top being just her name is so good. Her body is also fucking insane. I don't know how she has her waist that little, and it still looks like she's not corseted, unless it's like her press look that was like a built-in corset that's sculpted to look like her body. If that's the case and that's what she's wearing for this, I couldn't really tell. and I'm not looking at a reference when I talk about these makeover looks because photos have not come out yet and I'm not pulling up the episode and sitting through a fuck ton of ads just to get to that. I'm doing this for all of y'all. George's look, I think, is really cute too. I like all the pink. I like the name elements. I like that there's black built into the look too. This is another one of my favorite looks I've seen from her. I do wish, however, that there would have been like some red hair mixed in, having that kind of traditional blossom, like orangey ginger moment instead of the baby pink. I think it would have really helped sell the Powerpuff Girl idea a little bit more because that's really the one thing that took me out of it. Their makeover diva with the black with the green, I think that works. They also mugged her down so fiercely. The gold eye, gorgeous. And I loved the green tone on her skin. I thought this was very fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm giving it a slay. Up next, we have Angeria and Chanel. So Angeria's episode 3 look, this lovely orange dragon. I adore this so much conceptually. It's like if she was the dragon from Shrek, you know, like maybe her fierce cousin from down south. Like this worked really well for me. I loved the tail. I loved the sculpt of this, the construction, the placement of everything. In terms of how the bodice especially is detailed, I adored the airbrushing parts. I love, it's just a really cool design. I think the hair works as well too, having the horns in the wig. The overall look, really visually stunning. The only thing I don't like is that I think the breastplate was maybe a little too large. I think had the breastplate been maybe like a couple sizes smaller, it would have been a little more successful for me because the breastplate being that large, I think it just kind of like throws the balance of her torso off just a smidge. It doesn't need a lot of adjustment, but just enough to take it to that next level. I'm still giving it a slay. And then we have Chanel in another scorpion look for this runway. I actually like her implementation of the scorpion elements more than Vanjie's because it's not just like hooked around the back and over her head. I like that it kind of comes across at an angle, and the way she walks with it, because she's got like this one arm that has the armor detailing that's like the tail, and then the one leg as well, it kind of created this like cyclical shape that looked really cool. It was just really visually impressive on the runway. The bodysuit itself, I'm not the craziest about. I think it works. It has this kind of Mad Max dystopian vibe. However, there's some parts of it that I don't really like. And I think most of it is like that base bodysuit. I just don't think it's a good color. Her makeup though, phenomenal. The hair choice, great. She's one of my favorite faces in this competition too. She's been really fun to see like in this new modern context of Drag Race. But for this look, I'm just gonna give it an okay. Now their makeover looks. Everybody had one thing too many on, and you could have eliminated one detailing aspect from all of them, and the looks would have been more successful. So for Angeria's look, this pink moment, I like the bodysuit itself, but this like fur trim thing around the side of it, again, it throws the proportion off to the eye for me. It's not flattering. So I would just remove that part altogether because it felt like it's only there, so it made sense with Chanel's Muppet arm. Their makeover partner didn't have anything like that. She had like a base bodysuit that had some like iridescent pink and blue stuff to kind of meld the two together, which to me worked. There wasn't like a fur or fringy element like that on her look compared to the other two. So to me, that wasn't as successful. I think Chanel's look, I think she kind of needed something pink just to unify everything. So I think the Muppet arm thing works for her. Just so it wasn't that particular textile on the arm, I think it would have been a little bit more successful. To me, this look did not really read as a girl group. For their makeover partner, it would have been so much better had they gotten rid of the neck piece because it truncated the hell out of her. Because she's got this kind of like raised shoulder element from what I remember. I hope she does. Just with the way the neckline is, how large of a piece that like neck corset thing is, it really makes her look like she's like this because it just cuts her off completely. And when you're that tall and then you eliminate that height and the length in the neck, it just makes her proportions off. So for me, that's the biggest issue with this group, is that their proportions did not make sense. Lyrics in the challenge, hilarious, I loved it. But to me, this collective group, I think as much as I love the color palette and as much as I think there are little elements in all of them that work, I'm gonna give this an A. It just did not come together in a great way for me. And last up, we have Gottmik and Nina West going in for Gottmik's runway look. Super editorial, so impactful, and I love that Gottmik took the theme and just kind of flipped it on its head. I know some people I was reading online said that the theme was a bit of a stretch because the tail is the ponytail and the two tits are the tits in the bag, but I think it works. It's a fun inversion on the theme. I really liked that the skirt element is like that kind of seafoam green that you associate with hospital gowns as well. I loved that part. The arms being welded off of her actual arms is really cool. I just thought this was a really strong concept executed to perfection. When you get into just the fashion element to critique though, all I can really talk about are the shoes, which are very cute, and the skirt. I like the little cutouts on the side, but when you're talking about the full impact of this piece, it's phenomenal. I'm gonna give it a slay. To me, this was like the look that stood out the most in terms of memorability because it was such an inversion on the theme. And then when we get into Nina's A Tale and Two Titties runway, I get that she's supposed to be the tail of a comet, but the little explosion thing coming off of her head, I don't think gives comet tail. And then she's got a sun on the crotch, and then two rhinestone planet tits, and then a black hole on her ass. There's no accounting for taste, I suppose. The planets are stone, that's nice. The look, I think she could have executed this concept in a way that would have been campier, more successful, and would have been a lot cuter. So to me, this is an A. If you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. I really don't have anything nice to say about this, in my opinion, so I'm gonna move on. We're just gonna move on to the makeover looks. And I think the choice of putting them all in black hair, so that way they kind of fit Gottmik's aesthetic, but then having the Nina West kind of 60s hairspray dresses, I think was a smart choice. Fashion-wise, they look very visually consistent. They're great. I think their makeover was one of the most successful ones of the episode. She was another one who was mugged down very fiercely, Miss Anita Blaze, and I love this hairstyle on her. I love the cut of this dress on her. The color palette was gorgeous on her skin tone. I think the color palette that all three of them were wearing in general worked very well individually for them. And I liked that the hairstyle that each of them had is still very like true to their aesthetic. Gottmik still kind of has that like punk edge. Nina's is very 60s campy. And I think there's something that's quite fashiony about Anita's that I really, really enjoy. The whole thing is very mod. I thought it was good, but I don't think it was incredible, so I'm just going to give it an okay. So now that we've got all of the looks discussed, it's time to pick our slay of the day for episode 3 and episode 4. For episode 4, I am going to be picking the collective group, not just the singular. So for me, I would say for episode 3, my slay of the day comes down to Gottmik and Plastique. I loved both of their looks immensely. I think Plastique did the best of like the classic execution of the theme. I think Gottmik's take on this, the inversion on the theme, and the overall delivery and impact that this look has had for me and what I've seen just like in general, it's so good. Like it's so good. I have to give it slay of the day. So I'm gonna give slay of the day for episode 3 to Gottmik, and episode 4 slay of the day will be given to our little girl group Meow Meow Mix, so that's Georges and Plastique. I loved this Powerpuff Girls moment, and I think I could make something really, really cute out of this. We're gonna be putting these looks up against Plastique's episode 2 Dragon Petite's art look to determine which of these 3 I want to draw most. Here's the thing. There's been multiple looks from this season that I have already started doing some like loose sketches of because I just enjoy them that much. All of these looks, regardless, I think I will probably come around to drawing at some point. But I think in terms of what I could make the coolest piece out of, at this point, I think that would go to Gottmik's look here. So that's gonna be a wrap on this episode for me. As always, if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all of those lovely little things. And I know I haven't put anything out for a while in terms of Persona content. It's coming, I promise. Just stay tuned for all of that. And there's gonna be a whole bunch of Pokemon Pride Month shiny hunting coming to my Twitch channel in June. I am debating maybe dual streaming it over on YouTube too. So if that's something that y'all sound interested in, if you wanna see me in drag, shiny hunting while we raise money for a great cause all month long in June for the Campaign for Southern Equality. Comment below if you want details on that and I will let you know everything. Or better yet, come hang out with us on the stream and donate while we're live. It'll be fun. It'll be a really, really fun time. I love doing this event every year. Last year we raised $37,000 for this organization. We're hoping to hit $50,000 this year. And every single dollar you donate is matched 1-to-1 up to that $50,000. So everything you donate is technically doubled, basically. So more bang for your buck, and it's all going toward a great cause. We will see you in the next one whenever we see you. Be sure, as always, to stay kind, stay queer, and make sure that your day is very slay.